Imagine a mountain range older than the dinosaurs, one that witnessed continental drift and weathered millions of years of erosion, now rising as a vast green wall spanning nearly 2,400 miles. Appalachia is more than just a mountain range. It is an ocean of trees with a level of biodiversity that has led scientists to dub it the Galapagos of North America. Yet, in a cruel irony, beneath this lush canopy lies a dark realm of coal, the very fuel that once illuminated an empire while destroying its pristine beauty. Here, mountain peaks have been sheared off just to extract hundreds of millions of years of sediment, and rivers have turned into deadly, acid-orange streams. It is a fierce battle between the giants of nature and human ambition. It is no coincidence that people call this the Smoky Mountains, because every early morning, a layer of blue-gray mist lingers over the rolling hills of the Great Smoky Mountains. Straddling the border between the states of Tennessee and North Carolina in the United States, this is one of the most visited national parks in the world. This mountain range belongs to the ancient Appalachian system, formed hundreds of millions of years ago. What makes the Great Smoky Mountains particularly captivating is its incredible biodiversity. It is home to over 19,000 recorded species of living organisms, and scientists believe that tens of thousands more remain undiscovered. The old-growth forests here stretch endlessly, forming one of the largest remaining tracts of primary forest in the eastern United States. In autumn, the entire forest bursts into flames of red, orange, and gold, attracting millions of visitors to come and admire the spectacle. In addition, this area is famous for its population of black bears living freely in the wild. Its system of streams and waterfalls is also remarkably rich, with hundreds of creeks winding through green valleys. Clingman's Dome, the highest point of the range, offers breathtaking panoramic views for those who are fit enough to conquer it. Now, before we move on to the next destination, here's a fun question for you. Which U.S. state is not part of Appalachia? Comment your answer below. Lake Lure is an artificial lake in North Carolina, formed in 1927 after a dam was built on the Broad River, following the vision of Dr. Lucius Morse, who wanted to develop the area into a resort destination. Before being flooded, the valley where the lake now sits was once farmland of several long-settled families in the Hickory Nut Gorge area. The lake lies within this gorge, part of the Blue Ridge Range of the Appalachian system, surrounded by steep cliffs and dense forests. The lake covers approximately 720 acres, with a winding shoreline stretching over 27 miles due to the rugged mountain terrain. The lake's water originates from mountain streams flowing down from Hickory Nut Gorge, maintaining considerable clarity due to minimal industrial impact in the area. In the 1920s and 1930s, the area around the lake developed into a resort destination for the southern middle class, with numerous hotels and villas built along the shoreline in the architectural style of that period. Lake Lure Dam, beyond creating the lake, also serves for small-scale hydroelectric generation to meet the electricity needs of the surrounding area. Boating, swimming, and fishing activities are lively in summer, when large numbers of visitors from nearby cities such as Asheville and Charlotte flock to the area. The world is full of amazing places waiting to be discovered. Subscribe and let's explore them together. Rising nearly 275 meters straight into the sky, Seneca Rocks is one of the most famous sandstone cliffs in the Appalachian Range. This rock formation was shaped hundreds of millions of years ago, when compressed sedimentary layers gradually emerged through prolonged erosion. The rock here is primarily Tuscarora quartz arenite, a hard and durable sandstone characteristic of many high peaks in the Appalachian system. The cliff face rises almost vertically, forming a narrow ridge that stands out prominently against the surrounding North Fork River Valley. From a distance, Seneca Rocks resembles a giant blade thrust into the sky, contrasting sharply with the rounded hills typical of much of Appalachia. It is one of the oldest rock climbing sites in the United States, attracting climbers from all over to tackle dozens of routes with varying levels of difficulty. During World War II, the U.S. military used this area to train soldiers in mountaineering techniques before deploying them to Europe. The indigenous Seneca people once lived around this area before European settlement, and the cliff's name originates from them. In autumn, the forests at the mountain's base burst into brilliant colors, creating a striking contrast with the silvery gray sandstone. If you enjoyed this journey, you can support the channel with a small coffee sum. Your support helps me keep creating more travel videos like this. Thank you so much. Why is a mountain range in New York considered the cradle of the modern American conservation movement? The answer lies in the history of the Catskill Mountains, a range in southeastern New York that is geologically distinct from the Appalachian system. In essence, the Catskills are a deeply eroded plateau formed from sedimentary rock layers that were uplifted and then carved by water into mountainous shapes over millions of years. Slide Mountain, at about 1,281 meters, is the highest point in the area, located within the 700,000-acre Catskill Park. The Hudson River School of Painting, pioneered by artist Thomas Cole in the early 19th century, drew much of its inspiration from the pristine landscapes of the Catskills, helping to foster a conservation ethic in American society at the time. Like Adirondack Park to the north, Catskill Park also falls under the Forever Wild Clause in the New York State Constitution, mandating that public lands remain permanently wild. The forests here are primarily temperate broadleaf, dominated by oak, maple, and birch, interspersed with coniferous patches at higher elevations. In the mid-20th century, the area was also famous for its resort circuit catering to New York City's Jewish community, a period known as the Borscht Belt in American pop culture. I'm curious, what time is it where you're watching from? And which country are you joining me from today? Unlike most mountain ranges in the eastern United States, which belong to the Appalachian system, the Adirondack Mountains in northeastern New York form a distinct massif. This region covers approximately 6 million acres, protected within the boundaries of Adirondack Park, the largest state park in the United States. The bedrock here is primarily gneiss and metamorphosed granite, with geological ages exceeding 1 billion years, ranking among the oldest rocks in North America. Mount Marcy, at 1,629 meters, is the highest point in New York State, located within the High Peaks region at the center of the area. The park contains over 3,000 lakes and ponds, along with approximately 30,000 miles of rivers and streams flowing through the terrain. The forests here include both coniferous and deciduous trees, varying with elevation and soil type. In the early 20th century, New York State enacted the Forever Wild Clause in its constitution, stipulating that public lands within the park must remain permanently in their wild state. Unlike many other national parks, Adirondack Park includes both public and private lands, with dozens of towns and approximately 130,000 year-round residents living within its boundaries. From afar, this mountain range always wears a hazy blue layer, and that is precisely the reason it is called the Blue Ridge. This is the easternmost range of the Appalachian system. The characteristic blue hue comes from isoprene compounds released by the forests, which scatter sunlight and create a misty veil over the peaks. The terrain consists of many low, rounded summits, the result of hundreds of millions of years of erosion on ancient bedrock. The Blue Ridge Parkway, approximately 469 miles long, runs along the ridge connecting Shenandoah to Great Smoky Mountains in the south. The forests here are of the temperate broadleaf type, with oak, maple, and walnut dominating at lower elevations. This area is also the source of several major rivers, including the James River and the New River. Historically, the Blue Ridge was home to indigenous tribes such as the Cherokee and Monacan before European settlers arrived in the 18th century. Agriculture in the valley foothills, particularly apple cultivation and small-scale livestock farming, is still maintained in many communities around the area. In autumn, the vegetation changes color in unison, attracting a large number of vehicles along the parkway for scenic viewing. The Skyline Drive winds for 105 miles along the crest of the Blue Ridge, traversing the entire length of Shenandoah National Park. The park is located in Virginia, established in 1935, on land that had been nearly exhausted by agriculture and logging over the preceding centuries. Few would imagine that today's dense forest was once farmland and grazing pastures spread throughout the valleys. The natural forest regrowth after people left has turned this place into a living testament to ecological regeneration. Hawksbill Peak at 1,1235 meters is the park's highest point, offering a panoramic view of the Shenandoah Valley stretching to the west. Over 500 miles of trails cut across the park, with about 100 miles forming part of the legendary Appalachian Trail. Black bears are densely distributed here, with densities considered among the highest in eastern U.S. national parks. The Shenandoah River, flowing along the valley of the same name west of the park, converges with the Potomac River at the historic town of Harper's Ferry. In autumn, visitors flock in large numbers to admire the maple and oak forests changing color along the entire Skyline Drive route. Before the park was established, hundreds of families living in the area were forced to relocate a lesser-known part of the park's history, though traces remain in the form of old house foundations and dry stone walls scattered through the forest. The New River, despite its name, is actually one of the oldest rivers in North America, with an estimated age of tens of millions of years. Flowing northward from south to north, a rare direction compared to most rivers in the United States, the river has carved through the Appalachian Range in southern West Virginia, forming the New River Gorge, which reaches depths of over 300 meters in some places. This area was upgraded to a national park in 2020, becoming the 63rd national park and the youngest national park in the United States at that time. Prior to that, it had held the designation of National River for over 4 decades. The most prominent structure in the area is the New River Gorge Bridge, a 924-meter-long steel arch bridge that held the record as the longest arch bridge in the world for many years. Every year, on the third Saturday of October, the Bridge Day event attracts tens of thousands of spectators to watch base jumpers leap from the bridge into the gorge below. The swift currents through the gorge create one of the most highly regarded whitewater rafting areas in the eastern United States, with rapids reaching Class 4 and 5. The sandstone cliffs along both sides of the river are also a renowned rock climbing destination, featuring over 1,400 established routes. Which waterfall is the highest in the Appalachian region of the eastern United States? That would be Whitewater Falls, located on the border between North Carolina and South Carolina, with a total height of approximately 411 feet, equivalent to over 125 meters. The waterfall actually consists of 2 separate sections. Upper Whitewater Falls lies to the north within the Monongahela National Forest in North Carolina, and Lower Whitewater Falls lies further south within the Sumter National Forest in South Carolina, both belonging to the Blue Ridge Range of the Appalachian system. The The water from the Whitewater River cascades over multiple exposed granite rock ledges, creating a series of successive drops rather than a single vertical plunge. The steep terrain around the falls is the result of geological uplift and erosion spanning hundreds of millions of years, characteristic of the entire Appalachian system. The trail leading down to the base of the falls is quite steep and technical, requiring better physical condition than the path to the upper observation deck. Which would you choose at Whitewater Falls? Comment 1 for the waterfall viewpoint, or 2 for a forest hike. Few would have imagined that an industrial city once listed among the most polluted in the United States would become a typical gateway to the Appalachian Range, as Chattanooga is today. The city lies along the Tennessee River in the state of Tennessee, precisely where the Appalachian Range begins to descend toward the south. Surrounding the city are mountains of the Cumberland Plateau, a branch of the Appalachian system, with Lookout Mountain being the most prominent, standing about 2,100 feet high. The Tennessee River flows through the city in the Moccasin Bend Curve, marking the boundary between the Appalachian highlands and the lowlands to the west. In 1863, the battle above the clouds took place on Lookout Mountain's summit, one of the famous battles of the American Civil War. Throughout the 19th century, Chattanooga thrived as a railroad hub, transporting coal and iron mined from the Appalachian deposits to industrial cities in the south. The dense industrial activity in the valley enclosed between mountains once made the city one of the most heavily air-polluted places in the United States in the mid-20th century. Beginning in the 1990s, Chattanooga undertook large-scale urban renewal, transforming the riverfront area into public space and an ecotourism center. We gather info from many sources. If something seems off or you've got more to add, drop a comment. Many plant species atop Grandfather Mountain are typically found only as far north as Canada, thousands of kilometers away. This mountain is one of the most famous peaks in the Blue Ridge Range of the Appalachian system, located in North Carolina, with an elevation of approximately 1,818 meters. The mountain's name derives from its outline when viewed from a distance, which resembles the face of an old man lying on his back, gazing skyward. It is one of the oldest mountains on Earth, with bedrock formed over 1 billion years ago, dating back to the same period as many other foundational rocks of the Appalachians. The mile-high swinging bridge, suspended across a ravine at over 1,600 meters in elevation, is the most prominent attraction, offering sweeping views of the southern Appalachian Mountains. This area was designated a UNESCO World Biosphere Reserve in 1992 due to its exceptionally high biodiversity relative to its relatively small size. Vegetation changes distinctly with elevation, from broadleaf forests at the base to coniferous forests near the summit, reflecting the characteristic ecological stratification of the Appalachians. Strong winds and frequent fog around the peak create conditions for a rare alpine plant community at this latitude. With over 100 natural stone arches within a relatively small area, Red River Gorge is considered to have the densest concentration of natural arches east of the Rocky Mountains. This gorge lies within the Daniel Boone National Forest in Kentucky, on the western edge of the Appalachian system, where the Rocky Mountain terrain gradually transitions into the Cumberland Plateau. This area is notable for its system of sandstone cliffs and natural rock bridges, formed over millions of years by water and wind erosion of sedimentary rock layers. The Red River winds through the gorge floor, cutting deep into the rock to create vertical cliffs tens of meters high in many stretches. The arched, cavernous, and overhanging sandstone terrain makes this region one of the most highly regarded rock climbing destinations in the United States, with thousands of established routes. Forests cover most of the area, consisting of temperate broadleaf types interspersed with rare plant species adapted specifically to the moist sandstone environment. Hidden in the far western mountains of Maryland, Swallow Falls State Park possesses the oldest remaining old-growth spruce forest in the state, with many ancient trees over 300 years old. The park lies near the town of Oakland, within the Allegheny Range, a western branch of the Appalachian system, at an average elevation of about 600 meters above sea level. The Youghiogheny River flows through the park, creating a series of 4 consecutive waterfalls, of which Muddy Creek Falls is the highest in Maryland at nearly 16 meters. The water cascades over hard sandstone layers, producing a resounding echo throughout the surrounding forest year-round. This ancient forest escaped the large-scale logging that swept across the Appalachian region in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, partly due to its rugged, inaccessible terrain. The renowned naturalist and writer John Muir visited this area in the early 20th century and left numerous writings about the pristine beauty of the forest. In winter, the waterfalls often partially freeze, forming translucent ice sheets clinging to the cliffs. Temperatures here are typically significantly lower than in the surrounding lowlands due to the elevation and dense forest cover, a climatic feature common to many high areas of the Appalachians. Standing on the 1,219-meter-high cliff overlooking the deep Johns River Gorge, many visitors are often surprised by an unusual phenomenon. Snow falling downward is instead blown back upward by the wind rather than reaching the ground. Blowing Rock is a granite outcropping belonging to the Blue Ridge Range of the Appalachian System, located in North Carolina, and is also the name of the small town surrounding the area. This distinctive wind vortex occurs because air currents rising from the gorge below are blocked by the sheer cliff face, creating an updraft that pushes light objects upward instead of letting them fall. Many indigenous Cherokee legends are associated with this landmark, the most popular of which tells of a warrior who leaped into the gorge but was blown safely back by the wind. The town of Blowing Rock developed in the late 19th century as a summer resort destination for residents of southern cities seeking to escape the oppressive heat of the lowlands. The Blue Ridge Parkway passes close to the area, connecting Blowing Rock to a chain of other destinations along the Appalachian Ridge, including nearby Grandfather Mountain. In autumn, the maple and oak forests around the area turn brilliant colors, drawing large numbers of visitors to the rock outcropping for sightseeing and photography. Amid the typically hot and humid mountains of the eastern United States, there exists a valley with a climate and ecosystem closely resembling distant Canada, and that is what makes Canaan Valley so unique. This valley lies at an average elevation of over 900 meters, the highest east of the Mississippi River in West Virginia. The extensive peat bogs across the valley floor are remnants of an ancient glacial ecosystem, similar to other rare wetland areas in the Appalachian region, such as nearby dolly sods. The vegetation here is a mix of northern coniferous forests and rare wetland plants, some of which survive only sparsely at this latitude, thanks to the valley's uniquely cold microclimate. The Canaan Valley National Wildlife Refuge was established in 1994, providing habitat for many migratory birds and rare animals such as black bears and white-tailed deer. Before becoming a refuge, much of the valley had been extensively logged in the late 19th century, nearly wiping out the original old-growth forest. The forest here is currently undergoing natural regrowth, although the regeneration rate of northern conifers is considerably slower than that of typical broadleaf forests. Chimney Rock is a vertical rock pillar located in Chimney Rock State Park in North Carolina, part of the Blue Ridge Range of the Appalachian system. The rock formation was shaped hundreds of millions of years ago, when bedrock layers were uplifted and gradually eroded by wind and rain, leaving behind a hard rock column standing taller than the surrounding terrain. In 1949, an elevator tunneled through the mountain was built, allowing visitors to quickly reach the summit without hiking the entire steep route. The Skyline Trail leads visitors along the cliff edge, offering various vantage points overlooking the valley and Lake Lure below. The park transitioned from private ownership to state management by North Carolina in 2007 after decades of operating as a commercial attraction. In autumn, the maple and oak forests covering the gorge turn red and orange, creating a striking contrast against the gray granite. This area is also home to bald eagles, often seen circling the cliffs during the winter months. From the top of the outcropping, visitors can take in a panoramic view of the glistening Lake Lure, below one of the most beloved viewpoints in the park. Spanning nearly 1 million acres in eastern West Virginia, Monongahela National Forest is one of the largest national forests within the Appalachian Range. The forest covers much of the Allegheny Mountains, the highest subrange of the Appalachian system in this region. Spruce Knob, the highest point in West Virginia at over 1,480 meters, lies within the forest's boundaries. Constant winds have bent the spruce trees on the summit into characteristic leaning shapes, creating a nearly surreal landscape. The Dolly Sods area, a wilderness plateau within the forest, has a climate and vegetation more akin to Canada than to the eastern United States. The timber industry once thrived throughout Monongahela in the late 19th century, leaving behind many remnants of old railroad tracks deep in the woods. The federal government began purchasing land and establishing the National Forest in 1920, aiming to restore the forest area that had been devastated. Today, the forest has recovered almost completely, with diverse vegetation ranging from broadleaf forests to coniferous forests at higher elevations. The Appalachian communities living around the forest's edges still maintain many traditional practices, such as hunting and wild mushroom gathering. Downtown Asheville now preserves over 200 Art Deco buildings, a remarkable number for a city of its modest population size. The city lies in the French Broad River Valley in North Carolina, surrounded by both Appalachian mountain ranges, the Blue Ridge Mountains to the east, and the Great Smoky Mountains to the west. The valley's elevation of over 600 meters above sea level gives the city a cool climate year-round, distinctly different from the coastal plains of the state. This mild climate once made Asheville a popular health resort destination in the late 19th century, when many doctors recommended that tuberculosis patients seek the fresh mountain air. In the late 19th century, the Vanderbilt family built the Biltmore Estate here, the largest private residence in the United States with over 250 rooms, which once had its own railway line for transporting construction materials. The Blue Ridge Parkway runs close to the city, connecting Asheville to many other destinations along the Appalachian Ridge, such as Grandfather Mountain and Mount Mitchell. Mount Mitchell, not far from the city, is the highest point east of the Mississippi River at 2,037 meters, attracting many weekend hikers from Asheville. Beneath the clear blue waters of Watauga Lake, remnants of old house foundations can sometimes still be seen, leftovers from towns that were submerged when the dam was built. This lake was artificially created in 1948 after the Tennessee Valley Authority constructed Watauga Dam to control flooding and provide hydroelectric power for the northeastern Tennessee region. The lake covers approximately 2,400 acres, sitting at an elevation of over 640 meters above sea level, surrounded by peaks of the Iron Mountains and Holston Mountains, both subranges of the Appalachian system. Before the flooding, the valley where the lake now lies was home to many farming families who were forced to relocate entirely to make way for the dam project. A section of the legendary Appalachian Trail runs along the lake's shore, crossing the Watauga Dam suspension bridge before continuing upward into the neighboring peaks. The lake reaches a maximum depth of over 90 meters in some areas near the dam, ranking among the deepest artificial lakes in the southeastern United States. The forests surrounding the lake are primarily temperate broadleaf, interspersed with patches of pine, creating a landscape that reflects brilliant autumn colors onto the calm water. The Watauga Point Recreation Area, located along the lake, serves visitors' needs for swimming, fishing, and boating during summer. Black cherry from Allegheny is prized by American woodworkers. It's one of the most valuable hardwoods around, thanks to the region's unique soil and climate. The forest where this wood grows, Allegheny National Forest, spans over 500,000 acres in northwestern Pennsylvania, the state's only national forest, located in the western portion of the Appalachian system. The terrain here belongs to the Allegheny Plateau, distinct from the sharp peaks typically found east of the Appalachian Range. The forest was established in 1923, after much of the region's old-growth forest had been nearly depleted by logging throughout the 19th century. The Allegheny Reservoir, formed by the Kinzua Dam, built in the 1960s, extends over 39 miles across the border of Pennsylvania and New York. The oil extraction industry also thrived in the area in the late 19th century, with some old oil wells still operating sporadically within the forest boundaries to this day. The North Country Trail, one of the longest hiking trails in the United States, runs through the entire length of Allegheny National Forest. In autumn, the maple and oak forests burst into brilliant colors along the shores of the Allegheny Reservoir, attracting large numbers of visitors from neighboring states for camping and fishing. It is no coincidence that Thomas Jefferson once called the landscape here one of the most beautiful he had ever seen in his life. The Hudson Valley is a region stretching along the Hudson River in New York State, extending from near New York City all the way up to the capital, Albany. To the west of the valley lies the Catskill Mountains, while to the east it borders the Berkshire Hills in Massachusetts, forming a diverse geographical corridor between mountains and river. The stretch of river flowing through the Hudson Highlands in the southern part of the valley cuts through sheer granite cliffs hundreds of meters high, formed by tectonic activity over 400 million years ago. In the early 19th century, the Hudson River School of Painting emerged here, drawing direct inspiration from the valley's distinctive light and terrain, becoming America's first native art movement. Numerous historic mansions of wealthy families, such as the Vanderbilts and the Roosevelts, were built along both sides of the river in the 19th and early 20th centuries, most of which are now historic sites open to the public. The fertile riverbank soil has long been advantageous for agriculture, particularly apple growing, making the Hudson Valley one of the largest apple-producing regions in the United States. The towering television tower atop Mount Pisgah, erected in 1954, was one of the tallest broadcasting structures in the eastern United States when it was completed. Mount Pisgah is a peak approximately 1,616 meters high, belonging to the Blue Ridge Range of the Appalachian system, located in North Carolina, not far from the city of Asheville. The mountain's name originates from the Bible, associated with the peak from which Moses is said to have viewed the Promised Land from afar. This area was once owned by George Vanderbilt, the owner of the Biltmore Estate, who purchased the forested land around the mountain in the late 19th century for experimental forestry projects. The forester Gifford Pinchot, who later became the first director of the U.S. Forest Service, worked directly in the forests around Mount Pisgah, making this site one of the birthplaces of scientific forestry in the United States. The Blue Ridge Parkway runs along the mountain's base, with a trail leading to the summit approximately 2.7 kilometers long, steep enough to offer sweeping views of the Great Smoky Mountains to the west. The surrounding area now lies within Pisgah National Forest, a national forest spanning over 500,000 acres, renowned for its waterfall system and mountain biking trails. The park's approximately 1,600 acres stretch across rolling, mountainous terrain, a landform typical of Appalachia after hundreds of millions of years of erosion. The park was established in 1937 during the Civilian Conservation Corps era, when many conservation projects were carried out throughout the Appalachian region amid the Great Depression. Its most iconic landmark is the Glade Creek Grist Mill, a wooden water mill that recreates the traditional grain grinding trade once common throughout the Appalachian valleys. Glade Creek flows beside the mill, cascading into small waterfalls over moss-covered sandstone, the characteristic rock of this region's geology. The maple and oak forests surrounding the area represent the typical temperate broadleaf forest of Appalachia, bursting with vibrant colors each autumn. The ecosystem here is interconnected with the entire vast Appalachian Range, home to numerous endemic species found only in these mountains. A trail system of over 20 miles crosses sandstone cliffs, offering the quintessential hiking experience of Appalachian terrain. The park provides cabins and camping areas for visitors wishing to fully immerse themselves in the Appalachian mountain atmosphere overnight. Though bearing deep scars left by human greed, Appalachia continues to breathe silently alongside the rhythm of time. A mystical blue haze still blankets its ancient forests, sheltering countless forms of life as they quietly flourish through the centuries. In time, the rivers will reclaim their pure azure, and nature, with the extraordinary patience of a giant, is slowly healing its own wounds.